Tonight on Lost Gear, I roll my car, crash into a tree, and roll my car again. Today we'll be traveling back through time. More precisely, we're taking a look back on the history of rallying. In this series we've already looked at race cars at numerous occasions. However, we only regarded cars that were made for racing on proper tracks. The 4 classic cars we're gonna look at today were used to much rougher surfaces. Whether they were rushing through twisty tarmac roads in the mountains, tight gravelly mountain passes, or dusty high-speed routes through deserts and forests, pushing these cars to their limits in their natural surroundings required bravery and, well, some kind of disregard for the consequences. While the origins of rallying date much further behind than the 70s, we're gonna start with one of the most iconic cars of this era. The Lampadati Tropos Rallye. Now, rally enthusiasts pity what happened to Lampadati. While they were creating iconic cars for you and me back in the day, as well as some racing legends, especially in rallying, they went absent for quite a while. And now they're just another luxury manufacturer. Back in the day, probably their most iconic car, the Tropos Rallye, burst into the scene in the mid-70s and was kind of an underdog in the highest category of rallying. Their main competitors, from Obey, to which we'll come later, seemed unbeatable, but the small Italian outfit managed to win multiple championships before they withdrew the Tropos unbeaten, which secured the rally flounder its legendary status, leaving Obey puzzled and somewhat angry. Obey, still competing at the top level against Lampadati's newer cars among others, had to come up with something, and they did in the mid-80s. The Obey Omnis became one of the icons of the most popular but also the most dangerous era of rallying. The cars competing in that time were so powerful and fast that they set a new benchmark for the sport. They even became too fast because fatal accidents reached new heights in that time, in which the Omnis played a tragic role. One of the biggest rallying accidents ever saw the Omnis colliding with numerous spectators, killing multiple people and injuring dozens. Obey withdrew from rallying afterwards, and new regulations were introduced to make rallying safer for drivers and spectators. Alongside Obey, Vapid withdrew their brand new rally car in that season, which never could compete in a full season of rallying because of the new regulations that were introduced after many crashes and fatalities in the mid-80s. Still, the GB200 became a rallying legend, although it wasn't really competitive in the couple of rallies it entered. But why did it become so popular? Well, all of the cars that were doing the rallies earlier, in which they couldn't compete anymore because of the new regulations, were used for rallycross then, as it was a whole lot less dangerous even with these powerful monsters. And that's where the GB200 had its biggest success, making it one of the most iconic rally cars ever, even though it never really did compete in rallying. These new regulations, however, brought out a new dominant force in rallying, with Japanese manufacturers gaining momentum in the 90s. It was the big breakthrough of Karin, who dominated the rallying scene in the early to mid-90s with its iconic Calico GTF. And alongside its achievements on the rally stages of this world, it still is very popular with tuners and street races these days, as LSPD records suggest this car being used very often in illegal street races lately. Later, Karin kept dominating the rally sport further with the classic Sultan RS, and nowadays many modern compact sports cars are challenging for glory on the gravel, dust, tarmac roads of this world. But that's for another episode. What we'll do now is taking a look how fast these cars are on a rally stage, once and for all deciding which may be the best rally car ever. For that, let's go to Raton Canyon and see which car can beat this challenging stage the fastest. And here we are on the Raton Canyon Rally. On the top left you see the Tropos Rallye, top right the Omnis, bottom left GB200 and bottom right the Calico GTF. And off we are for this very tight and twisty rally stage. The Calico into an early lead on this very much flat out part. Now this is where it gets all technical, and for now it seems like they're all pretty close. The Calico went into an early lead but has lost a lot of time here and is further losing time. Right now it looks like the Tropos Rallye and the GB200 are into an early lead. The Omnis slightly behind, and then we have the Calico GTF. So the Tropos Rallye and the GB200 still neck and neck pretty much, but although the Tropos Rallye seems to be slightly ahead, this would be a mega surprise if the Tropos Rallye manages to win this challenge, and it very much looks like it really could do. It's the best car pretty much in these tight and twisty bits here. The Calico GTF losing a ton of time. The Omnis doing okay, not as well as the Tropos Rallye and the GB200 though. And the Tropos Rallye is still in the lead, even in a clearer lead than it was before. And it pretty much surely wins in this challenge. After this bend here we have the start-finish straight, and there it is. And the Calico loses by a whole lot of time behind the Omnis. And now, last but very much not least, let's also see how they do on our Ford Zancudo test track, to see where they rank with the other cars that we have tested in this series earlier. And again, it looks like an early lead for the Calico. And this time it will be a lot harder for the Calico to lose it. And it is the first one by far to reach the Pisswasser chicane, then the GB200 and the Lampadati Tropos Rallye and the Omnis pretty much, yeah, neck and neck. Now the tight bit of the track, the technical part, and again the Tropos Rallye does really well here, but on tarmac the Calico GTF also with no problems whatsoever through the technical bit. Now it's just 2 more hairpins to go for the Calico, and yeah, that's pretty much an easy win this time for the Calico, though it was by far the slowest on the rally stage. And it's again very close between the Tropos Rallye and the GB200. The Omnis seems like it's losing yet again, but this time the GB200 beats the Lampadati Tropos Rallye. Omnis comes in 4th. Well, and let's see on our Top Gear Hall of Fame. And of course, none of these cars is on the first page, but that's not a big surprise. We have to go all the way down to the 3rd page to see the first car, which is the Karin Calico GTF. It has beaten the Jester RR, which sits in 21st, and which is the other tuner subclass that we've already tested, so it's beaten that one. The GB200 sits right behind all of the Japanese car in 24th, and on the 4th page, just below the GB200, you see the Tropos Rallye, which has surprised a lot in this test and in this episode today. It has beaten the Omnis also by quite some margin, with just a deficit of 0.01 seconds. Well, and what do we take from that? Sometimes the oldest one is still one of the fittest in the room. And on that wisdom, we end our show. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe and check out the Lost Gear playlist if you want to see more, and leave a comment with which cars you want to see featured next. Until then, goodbye.